As you start building and selling your product, you need to discover a revenue model for your business that's going to allow you to make money and to grow. So revenue models answer the question around how you as a business are going to make money. Not just how you're going to sell things, because you can sell things and lose money. You need to figure out a way that you can sell things while making money. To answer this question, there are two elements that you need to consider. What does it cost to produce the thing that you're selling? And how much can you get the customer to pay you for that thing? So if the money that you make off of the customer, if the customer's willingness to pay is greater than the cost of producing that, then you're in a good position. If the revenue is greater than the cost, you have a sustainable business. So part of this formula is figuring out what it is that you're selling. And this sounds like maybe a silly question, but the reason you need to think about what you sell is because what you produce, what you create, what you manufacture, or the services that you provide are not always the thing that you're selling for money. You can sell a bunch of different things. And some of the best businesses have made money by being very creative about the thing that they sell. So the classic example of this is that Google makes money not off of search results. Google makes money off of advertisements that it displays in the search results. So while Google produces a search engine, what they make money off of is ads. You can sell a bunch of different things, and you're really just limited by your creativity. You can sell goods, so physical things. You can sell services, whether that's your time or whether that's technology that you sell access to. You can sell data if you are aggregating data off the internet, the way that companies like Facebook are. You can sell access to users. You can sell anything. That's why I put the blank. So it's hard to say what the best thing is to sell. Innovations within the tech industry are often just about the thing that is being sold as they are about the technology. And so it's worth it to be very creative to think about what it is you're selling as it relates to the thing that you're producing. Another interesting thing about revenue models is that if you're very creative, you can often sell more than one thing. This is usually called bundling. So for example, you can sell goods and services. This is pretty common in a lot of industries that sell very complicated equipment. They might sell a piece of equipment like a MRI machine, and then they'll also sell services on top of it, like training to use the MRI machine. So the people creating this equipment make money twice off of each sale. And often they can make money over time off of the training. So they're not just making money off of the one machine. You can sell services alongside more services. So this is pretty common in the software world, where people are selling complex pieces of software or software that's supposed to improve the efficiency of a company's operations. So maybe you're selling software that helps hospitals manage their work processes better. You can then sell consulting services where your specialists go into the hospital to teach the hospital staff how to use your software more effectively, but also provide them with some consulting on ways that they can improve their operations. So you can sell services and services. You can also sell goods and more goods. A good example of this is the printer. You buy a printer, and that's one sale. And then you also buy the ink cartridges, and those are subsequent sales that go off into time. You can do this with anything where there might be some sort of reusable component, like thermometers that have the safety cap on top. The thermometer manufacturers make money not just off the thermometer, but also on the caps. So again, you're pretty much just limited by your creativity, and it's worth thinking about different ways that you can monetize off of producing the same thing. It's important to keep in mind that in order for your revenue model to work, you need the underlying structure of the revenue model in place. Oftentimes, people start companies and they have a revenue model in mind, but they can't actually make money until they have the underlying structure ready to go. A good example of this is if you were thinking that you're going to make money off of a marketplace, let's say pairing doctors and patients. In order for your revenue model to work, you need both sides of the marketplace. You need the doctors and the patients. This is very difficult because you have to work on two customer acquisition strategies, one for the doctors and one for the patients, and they both need to succeed in order for your product to succeed. Another classic example is advertising. People think I'll just build an app that tons of people will use and then I'll be able to monetize it off of ads. Ads don't generate that much money when there's only a small pool of people. You need millions or maybe just hundreds of thousands of users in order for that revenue model to really work. So you just have to keep these things in mind as you're coming up with your revenue model so that you're aware of the difficulties that you're going to have before you actually start to make money. Another important element of your revenue model is understanding when exactly you're going to charge. This is another area of innovation and creativity. Over time, different charging methods have evolved and come about that allow businesses to make more money than they could have previously. So subscriptions are relatively new in the tech world. You used to buy your apps on a one-off basis. Every year, the software companies would release a new version of their application. Let's say it was Microsoft Office, and you bought access to Microsoft Office once a year if you wanted the upgrade. If you didn't want the upgrade, you could just use your old version of Microsoft Office. Now Microsoft Office is sold on a subscription. So you always have the newest version, but you're paying for it month over month. So you can follow one of these revenue models. You can charge on a per use basis. You can charge on a freemium model where you give people access to the product for free at first, and then you charge for extra features or for continued use of the product. Again, this is one of those areas where your creativity will allow you to innovate on some of the existing models, and talking to your customers will allow you to understand when it is that they're willing to pay. So how do you improve your revenue model? If you realize that your revenues do not exceed your costs, there's really only two things you can do. You can reduce your costs, so you can become more efficient at producing the thing that you're producing, or you can increase the value derived by customers so that you can charge them more. On the second point, there are a few ways to increase the value derived by customers. You can add to the product so that the product does more for the customer and they get more value out of it. You can increase the perceived value. So this is very important. Customers will pay for the value they feel they're getting. And so if you make your product look and feel more valuable, oftentimes that's enough to get people to pay extra. Think of luxury products like Apple products or like purses. They're all perceived value. The last point here is to find different customers that got cut off, but you can find customers who are more willing to pay for your product than your existing customers. Sometimes it's very beneficial to fire your customers and find people who get more value out of the product that you're developing. Maybe you went after a set of customers that is a little more price sensitive than you should have, just from early conversations. Don't be afraid to find better customers who are going to pay more for the product that you're selling. Now, you have your revenue that comes from selling the product, and there are also costs of producing the product, but there's an additional element, which is that it oftentimes costs money to sell your product. So after you've produced it, maybe you've got a sales team, or maybe you've got a customer support team that you have to pay in order to maintain the sales of your product, or in order to maintain resubscriptions to your product, so to get people to subscribe again. the margins for your business is equal to your revenue minus all of those costs. That margin is the money that you get to keep to build the rest of your business, to pay your engineers, to pay yourself as CEO, to pay for your office. So keeping an eye on your margins is really important, and software companies generally need to have high margins. While other technology companies maybe can't get those high margins, they need to be able to make up for it on high volume of sales. So as you're thinking through the calculations for how you're going to make money, don't forget about the cost of selling.